Thank you for tuning in to Ungentrified with Kent Johnson. Ungentrified takes an unfiltered view on pop culture, music, television and film, politics, current events, and topics central to the worldwide Black community. Ungentrified is a safe audio space for celebrating Black culture in its purest form. Thank you for joining another very special episode of Ungentrified.
Every week it's getting like a little bit worse.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and it's my
You sound like the
thing.
smooth jazz, like the smooth sounds of jazz.
Thank you for joining another very special episode of Ungentrified. Yeah, I'm gonna miss it when it's gone next week. But hey guys, we are back for another recap of Insecure. We are recapping last night's episode, which was the 7th episode of the season, titled Obsessed Like. And oh, look, I'm jumping ahead of things. Of course, I have B with me.
Hello.
And yeah, we're gonna go right into it because this episode was a little bit different than I think everybody expected. Seeing as though we only had 2 episodes left, so we were expecting some things to progress, some answers to be provided to the questions we had, ending after the 6th episode, mainly where the hell is Nansford, but we did not get that answer.
He's in the wind.
Yeah. He is Casper, the unfriendly ghost right now, because we're a week after the baby shower as far as a timeline, and Issa still hasn't heard anything from him. And it's driving her crazy. Crazy.
It's so funny too, because I say this to, sorry guys to bring him up again, but I'm gonna just tell you guys his name. His name is TK, so that I don't have to keep calling him my husband since I got dinged on that last week. But I keep telling him how we missed this whole part of dating, kind of, because we've been together so long that we didn't actually get to like cyber stalk people. So, I mean, I kind of did, and I don't want to date myself too much, but like on MySpace, I kind of cyber stalk, people. And even there, you got to see like this person is now online, or this person hasn't been online since, 2 days ago or whatever. And that was kind of like the most you could cyber stalk. But now there's like all these different apps that you can track people on, and we never got to that. So I feel like I kind of missed out.
In a good way. But look, cyber stalking may be new, but ghosting has been around since the beginning of time.
That's true.
So, yeah, a lot of people felt triggered by this episode, and I will admit that I too have been ghosted at one point in my life, and it does it really pulls out and I hate to be a little on the nose, but like the insecurities in you, because you're like, well, wait a minute, hold up, what's going on? What did I do? Like, I'm great, love me, or really like me in this case. Yeah. So to see like that downward spiral play out was rough for some folks, and it was really, I likened it to us watching Issa go through like the 5 stages of grief. So
and she went crazy.
Yeah.
But I think that's like I'm saying, like that's one of the things I missed out on. Like if I was ghosted on before, like you're just like, oh, this person ain't page me back, or or they didn't like call me back or something. Like it wasn't like, ooh, but I can go on this and see like what they're doing. Like, you can like post on Facebook, but you can't call me back. Oh, you can be taking pictures on Instagram, but you can't call me back. Like it was just like, oh, this person is gone out of my life. Maybe they're like, in my mind, I could still say maybe they're dead, but she can't.
Right.
Or you can't if that person ghosted on you and they're still active on social media. So I think that's the difference in like being ghosted on in the past versus like today. I think it maybe drives you a little bit crazier than just having nothing, you know?
Yeah. And then there's so many places to check on people. It's like, oh, they weren't on their Facebook today, but oh, they might have said something on Twitter, or oh, they may be on Snapchat, or oh, let me go check their Pinterest page. Or it's like it's so many places where you can get a status update on people.
Hmm.
So it's enough to drive you crazy. Like you got a solid 6 options to check on folks. And and then it's like on the other end, when you know you ghosting somebody, are you intentionally holding back?
Like, oh, I want to check into this place so bad, but I can't.
Look, I've done
I
that.
I think I've done that.
It's kind of like the mini ghosting that we all do, where it's like, all right, I told everybody I'm going to sleep, or I told somebody I'm busy, I got to get off the phone, so I can't be on Twitter tweeting, or ooh, I told somebody I wasn't going to be here, so I can't post this until it's Throwback Thursday a couple weeks from now. Like we all do these kind of mini ghost moments throughout the day.
Oh yeah, I
Uh,
definitely do that to my husband.
yeah.
Like,
So
oh, this coffee is so good. I wish I could say something, but I gotta wait until after I see him so that he doesn't know exactly where I'm at right now.
yeah, especially when it's something you really want to talk about, and you're like, "Ooh, okay, let me set a reminder on my phone so I remember that I can talk about this now."
Or like, oh, happy hour is popping right now. Oh, honey, I'm really at my mom's house. No, I'm just playing. Just kidding. If he's listening, I don't do that.
uh, um, but yeah. Thankfully, I've never been as intense as Issa was with her breakdown, but I know enough of that feeling.
That was like an Alfred Hitchcock vertigo. Like it was just like she was going down a rabbit hole, and she was just getting like crazier and crazier from waking up missing teeth
Right,
to just like for real, like talking in her head while she's like sitting next to people. Like it was a lot.
right. And she didn't have the common interruption that most of us have, which is a job. So you got all this time in the day to think about why nobody's hitting you back up. And then in her job that she does have as a Lyft driver, like a lot of that time you by yourself. So you got plenty of time to be in your head
Well, let's
wondering,
not forget she was supposed to be doing something and
right,
just wasn't doing
right.
it.
So
She was supposed to be planning this dang block
Coco
party,
Jella, yeah.
but decided, you know what? The person that propelled me to do this isn't here. Let me just see where he's at so that I can like get back to thinking about this. Like once that's out of my mind and I can have my support system again, then I could get back to this. But in the meantime, like she should have just been like, let me do this to forget about him. Like let me focus on something to take my mind off the fact that he's not calling.
Right.
But that's just me.
Right. How ironic that the person who pumped her up to do it is now the person who is um interrupting her from getting it done at the same time. So
Hmm.
uh but in one corner of the spiral, I learned something new, or at least I don't know if this is a thing, but uh well, okay, let me preface with this. I know that people create fake accounts all the time to look at people. I did not know that Homegirls is linking up with one like shared account to go in and and stalk folks, which I thought was hilarious. 'Cause,
That was funny. And she got she got kicked out of that account too.
right.
But I've not ever done that, but I could see how that's a thing to have. Like I wish I did have that back in the day. I'm saying not right now.
And shout out to Instagram for the unsend option. I have utilized that before, but it doesn't stop people from getting the notification. So he probably did still see it. But
But he's ghosting that too, so it really didn't even matter.
right. And then it's like, is there ghost etiquette at all? Like, do you block the person, or because that could potentially set them off even more? Like, oh wait a minute, hold up, I can see you from the fake account, but I can't see you from my account. That's what gets people showing up at your house or at your
Yeah.
job. Um,
Hmm.
but then it's like, for all of the questions that you're asking yourself when someone ghosts you, they really have given you the answer, and you just don't want to, commit to what you're hearing or what you're learning yet. Like they've told you they want no parts. Um, and you
That's
commit all
true.
this time to trying to figure out where they been, and they told you. So
It's true and it's not true. You never know. He could have had a family emergency and just hasn't been able to get back to you, except for he was cutting hair. I don't know.
right.
But but before that, she didn't know that he was still around cutting hair. Maybe, I don't know, you can't. I don't know. Never mind.
Yeah. So I mean, i- unless that haircut was at another date, we know he's not locked up, because that was a potential theory last week. Was that that investigation led to him uh, having some legal issues, but we know that's not the case. The one thing that kind of tripped me up was the fact that when she had the opportunity to ask someone close to him where he was, she didn't. Um,
She didn't
she,
want to sound thirsty.
I mean, at that point,
The
what do you
thirst was
have to
real.
lose? Right, right.
She
I
was
mean,
trying to hack his computer.
yeah, yeah. Like at that point, you ain't got nothing else to do with this, with your situation. You might as well just throw
Right.
it all out there. You already showed up at the house in a robe in pajamas.
Oh, seeing her hair this week is I couldn't really focus on too much because that there was like a little piece of hair in the front that was like waving at me the whole episode. I just couldn't concentrate.
Right.
I was like, they did not have to have her going out in these streets with that, especially because her hair is always super cute, no matter what situation she's in. It's always laid and moisturized. But that one little piece was just fanning at me while she was talking to Molly, while she was at the house. I just couldn't focus on
Yeah.
anything.
She was
Her hair was as
stressed.
yeah, her hair was as messed up as the rest of her. She was in a house coat too.
Right, yeah, she had a lot to work on this
Hmm.
episode. But yeah, so in her kind of explosion at the end of the downward spiral, she calls up Molly to be like, yo, we need to go to his boy's house. His boy being Andrew, which
Oh,
was
poor Andrew.
right. Andrew got caught in the crossfire this episode. But yeah, that it led to an awkward interaction between Molly and Andrew, because they had uh, left on a really sour note after their date. So we start the episode with uh, their first date, and it's going really well. Like they got banter, they got back and forth,
Hmm.
and they set up a second date. And we find out that he had auditioned for B2K at one point.
Bum bum bum.
Right. So, they're on the second date, they're having a good time, and then they get to talking about Coachella and Molly, because he's been calling her Molly Squared because
Hmm.
of his first
Hmm.
interaction with her was her being on Molly. And they both admit to each other that they kind of told a little bit more than they should. And so she poked fun at him about kissing his homeboy's girlfriend, and he, snaps back with the, "Oh, but you was sleeping with a married man," and automatically
He,
the
he he got deaded right away.
right, uh, it was clearly a sore spot for her still.
Hmm.
Um, but it's like, Molly, you open the door to a crack. Why can't you uh take it back? So but it's kind of characteristic of how Molly is. She can tell everybody else about, what they need to do or what they did wrong, but when someone is ready to give that back, she got problems. Um, but yeah, that date just died immediately. I could hear the deflation happening at that
You even saw
table.
her face. She was like looking around, like rolling, like I'm done. This is dead. I'm done.
Right.
And she was so hard on him when nothing on his side. Like if you were looking at it from his vantage point, nothing had changed. Like it was, back and forth, joke, 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 back and forth, flirty, flirty. And then this joke, which, okay, the joke didn't land, or, it's a sore subject, let's move on. And she just, I mean, he doesn't know her life. I mean, he knows that she had this thing with her friend's husband or whatever. But like she said, you don't know the whole story. But it shouldn't have gone so south. I think she could have salvaged the date at least, and then kind of like pouted about it at home. But she just, like, you would have thought that he had called her like the N word or something. Like, she was done out of there. And to be fair, like when she came up with the pastries or whatever, he was like, what are you doing here? Like,
Right.
I'm done. Like, I chased you, you know, for a week with this coat. I finally got you to go out on a date with me. Now we doing the date and we had a great time, and then you did me after like one comment that I don't even know what I did wrong. Like, she had way too many chances, and by the look of his house, it don't look like he's, you know, doing bad.
Right.
He's handsome and he treated her well, and I think she just got in her own way and messed that up. Like,
As she normally does.
yeah, she does. And I felt bad for him because that was like, he didn't deserve that.
Yeah, but I did appreciate him for bringing up the point that he was like, wait a minute, what don't I know? How did you get led on by a married man? So,
Right.
I mean, but I think that was him showing, like, I don't care. Like, hey, it was a thing that happened, and it brought us back to what she told Issa in the car. Like, if you can't be honest with people, if you can't tell people about your situation, then they don't belong. They don't deserve to be with you. And it's kind of like, well, he put out on the table that, like, that doesn't bother me. It happened. It sucks. So
Hmm.
well, move on. And you pouted and left immediately. So yeah,
Yeah, I
she
think that's dead.
yeah, it's definitely dead. And like you said, Andrew had that feeling as well. So when Issa had the great idea of popping up at Andrew's house trying to find Nathan, like you said, he brought to her like, what are you doing here? And then when she came in, she kind of gave him the, oh well, I accept your apology for how you treated
Yeah.
me.
He was like, what? Like, bye, Felicia. Just, I know what you're doing here. Hurry up and do it and get out.
Right, right, right. And I was like, wait a minute, so she's really not even trying to buy time for for Eason. Like she didn't dance around it at all. Uh
Mm-mm.
yeah, so Issa, Issa. Up in that house, like it was bad.
It
I don't think
was.
I would ever take it that far. But uh
She's smelling cologne. She was about to go to this trash.
right,
She was trying to, I mean, first of all, they don't know each other at all. I mean, they've been together maybe a handful of times. They know nothing about each other, but she really was trying to crack into his computer. Like, I wouldn't even try to crank into someone's computer who I had been with for like 6 months. Like, how would you even think about coming up
right,
with the password? Like,
right,
she was really all up in his business.
right, right. And did she really think this is how I knew she had fallen off a rocker? Did you really think Issa was going to be my man's password to get up in his computer? That was delusion personified right there.
Yeah,
Uh,
she was crazy. I'm glad that Molly was like, no, let's go.
right.
I'm glad she finally came to get her before she went through the trash.
Yeah, yeah, I mean there's no way but up at that point, which is good for her because she needs some up in her life. And apparently Lawrence did too. Apparently the
Mm.
the burn from chlamydia felt like
Send
hell.
him straight to church.
Right, because he had that moment of I got to get my life right, and went to church and went to the church that I think we've all seen right now, where the pastor is trying to be a little too hip, and everything is a reference to social media or to a new song, and he wasn't really feeling it, but Chad, who
Oh
was
my God, that was hilarious.
right, Chad, who was reluctant to go in the first place, but decided to go because bitches might be there. Went up and got saved by the Lord. He gave up his hoochie ways and found the Lord.
He was in tears and everything. Oh my God.
Yeah,
That was so funny. I was glad to see Chad turning over a new leaf for the moment.
right, right. Temporarily,
Temporarily, yes.
and Lawrence wasn't just feeling it yet. He didn't connect right away, but clearly eyes were on him. He was fresh meat because he got approached by a girl who I have now coined as Disciple Bay, because I really felt like she was a salesperson for the church, like one of those people who kind of, if they didn't save themselves today, if they didn't come up to be redeemed, I need to send out my people afterwards to
Oh
to
my
close the
goodness.
deal.
I the thoughts of Kent do not are that are being expressed are not my own. They gonna shut you down, Kent.
Now we know that there are closers at the church, like the people who help with, hey, you want to come to Bible study, or hey,
You've been watching too much Greenleaf.
uh, but I think it was in that moment when he actually went out on a date with the girl that he realized that he wanted church, but not church. Like
Hmm.
I just need a little bit of saving. I need a little bit of redemption. I'm not ready to go that deep.
Right, because she was like, I didn't really get into it and started until I started joining this and this and this and this. And he was like, whoa, I just wanted to come to Sunday church.
Right.
Like, I don't need Bible study just yet or mentoring programs and all the other things. Like, I was just trying to see what's up. I was just trying to like dip a toe in. So yeah, I don't think that's gonna. So then we saw him ghost her.
Right, right.
Speaking of ghosting.
Yeah, I think he was just like, I just needed a little bit of saving, just enough to feel like I've done something for me. I'm
Hmm.
not ready to be a disciple for everybody else.
And I think, I think, and this is not, I hope this is not like rude, but I think people do get to that point too. Just like you feel like, oh, I need to be married, I need to be having kids now, I need to be doing whatever. I think you all hit that one spot too where you're like, you know what? Let me check back in the church because, the elders are, they all saved. And then the young folks is running amok. Like, I want to be in the middle. I want to like, let me see what's going on here. And I definitely hit that point too when I think I was like 30 or 31. I was like, yeah, let me dip my. I mean, I'm Catholic, but I had TK go, and he kind of like went out and tried to get himself together in church, and then he brought me to this non-denominational, and I felt exactly like Lawrence felt, to be honest. I was just kind of like, ooh, I don't think this is the church. Let me get back to my Catholic church. This is not necessarily for me. But I do think like after a while you're like, you know what? I've been running the streets, I've been doing my thing. I'm ready to kind of like let something wash over me and get on a different path or like a more straight and narrow, and where, that's the place to start, church,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and maybe
You're
that's
not
what.
gonna find all your bays at the club.
Uh, yeah, and I know plenty of folks who done found they boo up in the pew. Like, church is the hookup spot. So, look,
Not for Lawrence this time.
not for Lawrence, but someone told me it was like, look, everybody in church knows that they be sinning and know they need to be there, so they still got a little bit of that in them. Uh, everybody ain't saved yet. Uh, so maybe Issa needs some church right now because well, she finally realized. I think when she hit rock bottom and had that conversation with Molly in the car, she hit like the last stage of grief, which is acceptance, and went through and unfriended, deleted contacts. She didn't delete that text conversation though.
She deleted she had the purge. Yeah.
Right. But look, as we all know, people who have iPhones, deleting, don't get rid of it. Siri's a little too smart these days. And
She
if that
is.
person tries to contact you, it would be like, hey, maybe,
Maybe it's Nathan.
right, maybe this is a mistake calling. Like, it'll bring that stuff back up. You-
They do.
yeah,
She
Siri don't
does.
let you escape at all. So she really got to do a full clean.
No, but like in her mind, she could always do the wait. I'm sorry. Who's this again? Like, because technically she deleted the name, so she could be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Who's this? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm busy. I'm on
Right.
a date. Can I call you back? Who is this again?"
And then look, anytime she see a Houston number come pop up on call ID, she gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
So,
But you know
uh,
something that I did think though is because when she was like waiting on Nathan to call her back and she was in the shower, I think wasn't that her mom? that texted her that that scripture.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was kind of like tying the whole thing in with um Lawrence, right? Because when they did meet up and he said that he had gone to church, she kind of like told him maybe that's not the church for you, but like maybe you just got to find your church, which kind of led me to think like maybe she's not like super holy, but that she that is a part of her life as well,
Mm-hmm.
even if she's not like super active. Like that's just something that maybe they might bond on a little bit, or encourage him on. I don't know, it just seemed like there was like something there from her mom sending her that text to then her telling him, don't give up on going to church. Maybe you just need to find the right one.
Right, right. And I'm glad you brought up I mean, it was a date, the little coffee date that Lawrence and Issa ended up having. So Issa finally got her life back together and went to a class on like creating your pitch deck, but it was at the suggestion of Lawrence. So he met up with her afterwards to see how it went. She was like, "Hey, what you got going on afterwards?" And he didn't. So they went and got coffee, and they had a really kind of endearing moment as friends.
Hmm.
And like you said, she told him that, hey, maybe that's just not the right church, and maybe the one is still out there for you. And she was very honest about like what happened post breakup, about her sleeping on couches and trying to figure out what was going to be going on with her life, which was surprising to me. So we got to see that moment that sometimes happens for people who are broken up, but not always, where you come back and you still have the friendship side of your connection, and you're able to be amicable and actually kind to each other. So uh that was a good moment for them.
Yeah, I like that too because it was kind of like piggybacking off of the baby shower moment where Lawrence could have been nasty and mean and kind of like got back at her a little bit, but he was just like, "Hey, it is hard." I thought it it made me feel kind of hopeful for their relationship because that's something that she had with Nathan, right? She was able to be her true self, just let it all hang out, talk about her fears, insecurities, and things like that. Whereas with her friends, she had been more bottled up, more like, oh, everything's cool, everything's good. But she's kind of like sharing that moment with Lawrence, and telling him like it is hard to get out there. I'm trying these new things. I'm getting out there. So it's kind of like that bridge like between where she is talking to her friends, even though Molly has seen her crazy, um, and seen that truth. But and then Nathan, who she was like totally open and vulnerable for, she's kind of making herself open and vulnerable for Lawrence, even if it's just as a friend. So I think I don't know. I feel kind of like hopeful for that relationship, even if it's just a friendship. But I think it's like letting some of that baggage go. It's kind of like opening them up for like a new beginning.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, before that, before she figured it out that Nathan was gone and she needed to ghost him just as much as he ghosted her. I mean, she told Molly that she didn't know if anyone was ever going to make her feel like that again, which was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's a that's a low point. But I think her getting that out there is a space for her to realize that no, there are going to be people around. And even Molly stepped it up and was hitting her up like the next day, like, hey, just checking on you. You got this, kind of moments. So, but I also think her saying that in retrospect was her realizing just how crazy it was that she had gotten to that point. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't know. But this episode, it felt like a slam on brakes. Like the last two episodes, we were gunning up, and then this one just felt like whoa, wait a minute, what's going on? We slowing down for a little bit, which is kind of par for the course. With television, like you always have these really, really, really good episodes, and then kind of like this calm before the storm, the finale. I think people were really wanting an answer, especially about Nathan, but yeah, we're clearly not gonna get it in this episode. But yeah, We have one episode left. Um, and my first thought after the end of this episode was it got to be an extended episode. It got to be like 40 minutes. Um,
Yeah, even
because
the preview looked kind of long.
yeah, yeah, I mean, it's a lot to wrap up. Um, the baby, even though Tiffany's nowhere in the previews, we don't know
Mhm.
if she's gonna have the baby by the end of the season. We still don't know where Nathan is. Um,
Nathan might be gone.
right, he might be Ghost. We now have a new issue of Molly at work because she kind of jumped
Ooh.
ahead of Torian, and
Hmm.
now we kind of get to see what fallout happens from that.
And
Um,
honestly, I'm not mad at that.
Me neither.
I think Molly is she's messing up on a lot of stuff, but I don't think that her having the meeting without him, first of all, she opened it up. Like, she offered it up to the partners and they wanted it. They were like, oh, okay, if you good, let's go. So it's not like she was like, oh, he's, behind his back, like, oh, he's told us to go and do it without him. Like, she's qualified. She's been an attorney before she came there. Like,
Right,
she knows what she's doing. And if if they have the faith in her, and she seemed to have knocked it out of the park,
right,
then old dude shouldn't. Everything don't need to go through you. You're not a partner, okay? Like, I think as bad as I felt that she kind of like aligned with him instead of like doing working her way up a different way. I don't feel that she did anything wrong, and I hope he doesn't do anything nasty to like get back at her.
yeah. Because I mean, honestly, he would have done the same
Worse.
thing, right, or worse. Yeah, he wouldn't even have been like he was like, oh well, Malik's not here, but I can do it. Let's go ahead and do it now. He wouldn't even have
Hmm.
offered up to like, oh no, he's handling a big case today. Da 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 da. Da. So yeah, he would have definitely have done it if
Yeah.
the shoe was on the other foot. Um, but yeah, that's something that we have no answers on, and I would hope would be uh, resolved in the last episode. But yeah, it's hard to say with how this season is going to end up. I do have a prediction, though. I have two predictions.
I have
I
none.
You have not. I know I told you one already.
Oh, I didn't know if you were going to share that with the team.
Yeah, so I have because I want to get on record just in case I'm
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
So the first prediction I had, and I texted you about this like in the middle of last week. I was like, we will see the baby, uh, Tiffany's baby in the finale, but it won't be a light skinned baby. I feel like it's going to be a baby of a darker complexion, and that's going to bring up I don't know if everybody remembers, but that whole theory from the second season that there was another guy um, in Tiffany's life. There was the instance where Tiffany said she was hanging out with the girls, but had told her husband. Well, no, she told her husband she was hanging out with the girls, but had told Kelly that she had stayed where she was. So there was a conflict of information as to where she was. So we don't know exactly where she was during
So
that
Ted
time.
thinks she was cheating with the dark skinned brother. Maybe it was Daniel. No, I don't know.
And then Derek in the second season also brought up that he and Tiffany had had issues where he was, sleeping on the couch, and there was a coworker, but he deaded that. Like, so clearly there was something that we don't know about that happened. Um, so that could be a thing, but you brought up a good point when I presented that to you that that would really take their story in a whole nother direction.
Yeah, because like this whole season, it's been about them having this baby, having just kind of like taking them out of like this whole parenting. Like she's getting ready to be a parent. They're getting ready to be this family, and so I don't think that they would do all of this to then like bring that subject up and then have her forgive him. Like, I think he would dump her and she would be like a single parent, which is, there's nothing wrong with that or that storyline, but I just think like it's kind of conflicting as to what they're presenting. Like, if they were going to get back together, it's kind of like similar to the whole Issa and Lawrence situation,
Hmm.
but I think that it would be it would be too difficult to just have them get right back together and forgive each other. I do understand that they have this mirage of like a perfect marriage and all this, but I think like we were more wondering if her husband was gay when at the end of the second season when Issa's brother, kind of gave them like a head nod, it was like a weird interaction with Issa's brother, and so we were like, are they hooking up together? Like, what's going on there? But I don't. Maybe the baby's his. I don't know. He's darker. I don't know. I don't know. But I don't see that happening. But hey, it would be interesting for a season.
Yeah. And when you brought up the potential relationship between Issa's brother and Tiffany's husband, I had never thought about that. So, you did potentially have a prediction. I had never even considered that. I just thought that, maybe they were cool because he's really cool with Tiffany. Like, because they've always had like this really cool relationship. So maybe he would just hung out all the time. I didn't know, but yeah, I never thought about that.
I mean, I feel like people thought of that. I don't know if I want to take credit for that, but I feel like that's something that came up. Like there was some kind of a weird interaction at Issa's house that night at the party, and people were like, they always perpetrate like they got this amazing relationship, but something ain't right. So and they had been talking about having these issues. So they were thinking like maybe he was doing like maybe something was going on there. But I don't know, like now they're all now they're having a baby, they're all in love. I don't know. Maybe that was a long, long time ago, so
Yeah.
maybe not.
Yeah. The other prediction I have also goes back to season 2. So, do you remember when Molly saw Lawrence at the park that one day and Issa asked Molly to like kind of
Tend
figure
to get
out,
coffee
yeah,
in
like
front of them.
figure out what the situation was between them, and she came back to her and was like, "It's done." But we never saw that conversation happen.
Right.
So in the finale, it's Issa's birthday, and she's like, she wants a drama-free birthday, which means that drama is going to happen on the birthday. And one of the like clips is, "What are you doing here?" And Molly mentioning that she said she didn't want any drama. Um, so I remember having this conversation back in the second season where Molly, trying to be a good friend, could have intentionally told, Issa it's done just so she could move on and that not really be what Lauren's intentions were. And that may come out um, because, there hasn't really been tension between Molly and Issa. There was in the first season briefly, but I think that would be kind of a moment too where it's like, well, now that Lawrence is back and, cool conversations are being had and we can talk about our past relationship openly, that may be something that comes up. I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So who knows? That's just a prediction. Just wanted to put it out there.
And like I said, I don't have any the scenes from the next episode kind of reminded me of like back in the day on Mad Men when they would show like scenes from the next episode where you're like, I have no idea what this next episode is going to be. It was like such a hodgepodge.
Yeah.
So I don't have any. I just hope that we continue to see Lawrence because I'm happy about that, and I hope I hope. Oh, well, it kind of sounded like maybe Issa was getting a little bit closer to her block party too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, like she was out there canvassing, trying to get people to join in. So it looks like she's putting in more work on it. So I hope we're getting closer to that because I do want her. I want my sister to win.
Yeah. Yeah. She needs a win.
She does.
Yeah.
And I hope Nathan doesn't come back. I'm fine if he's gone. I don't know why, but I'm like I'm good on him.
Yeah. Well, the title of the final episode is Ghost Like. So that means that we're still gonna see the residuals of the Nathan storyline in some way, shape, or form. Or I mean it could also mean that something that's been hiding in the dark for a while is gonna come to light in the next episode. So who knows? Yeah, it's rough. But yeah, so next Sunday, September 30th is the last episode of the season. 8 episodes is
Oh,
not enough.
it's not.
Yeah, this flew by. Uh, but shouts out to it being 8 and not 10, so I can only pay for 2 months at HBO now instead of three. So I appreciate you
So
in that
stupid.
regard. Saving me $15. I like
Oh,
that. But yeah, of course, you guys check in with us. I'm sure we're gonna have plenty to talk about next week, and yeah, we'll catch up with you guys then. Of course, if you have any comments about today's episode, you can shoot us messages via Twitter or Instagram at the page for the podcast, which is Ungentrified Pod on both platforms. And of course, you can leave a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Thanks again for listening, and we will check you guys next week. And we may have a surprise for you next week. We're trying to figure out if we can do it. We may have a surprise for you next week. So definitely follow us on those social media outlets to see if that surprise comes into fruition. All right. Oh, and let me tell you guys all the other good stuff about the show. So outside of the recaps, I say we, B doesn't join me on other episodes. Sorry if you guys were listening for just her, but I do episodes weekly about all other kinds of topics that impact or are created by the Black community. So you can definitely check those out. Uh, and by subscribing, you won't even have to worry about them popping up. They'll do it for you automatically. So definitely subscribe and check us out for our next and final recap for the season and for any other episode that happens to come up on the Gentrified. But until then, we'll see you guys soon. Peace.
bye.